Wait a second. Oh, whoa.
Hello there.
Hey, Mr. Bailey, it's Mr. Soze. How you doing, pal?
Hello there, Soze. How are you?
Not very good, actually. Not very
I'm
good at
sorry
all.
to hear that.
I just read
What
up
can
on
I
some
do for
DOC documentation that implied that medical services and law enforcement weren't to respond to the jail. Right after reading that the Constitution states that the council must look after our lives and keep us safe. Under the Impeachment
well, isn't
Act.
that a conundrum, my friend?
Yeah. One of my old troopers died in there.
Which one?
As is.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm just curious. Were you guys ever trained on any sort of protocol in which you could impeach like judges and shit like that or have them removed? Is there even anything of substance that could hold them in check right now?
Are you saying impeach judges, my friend?
I'm saying.
Or as judges impeach individuals as a council member, or as to impeach a judge itself?
Listen, Crane signed off on this unanimously, this law, which also goes against the Constitution, now right, to be safe and cared for as a populace, okay? I don't know what your relationship is with this guy, and listen, I frankly don't give a fuck, but the guy, he is the issue. He runs the criminal entity, and he also has say in the people's entity. That is a fucking dictator, okay, is what it is. That is a dictator.
Which individual are you speaking with?
I'm talking about Crane, the guy that runs the place.
You were saying Crane's a dictator?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying he has committed treason multiple times. And nobody has done a thing about it. In fact, he's encouraged it by unanimously voting in legislation that contradicts the Constitution.
Well, son, there's quite a few things about that. That's an interesting proposition you put there. And also, once again, the whole DOC aspect, to my understanding, yes, while that might have been something he was or did pass or was involved with the decision, once again, there was also council side to this. Now, here's the other conundrum there, my friend. If you actually look at the roles and responsibilities of the individuals within the council itself, the Chief Justice is
He's
appointed by the federal government.
Yes. So he, in himself, would not be impeachable because it says the council's impeachable. But here's the problem. We have
that's what you asked me, if I can impeach him.
Listen. I know, I understand, but there's 8 people in front of him that are impeachable, and he didn't do shit about it, which now makes him an accomplice to whatever they've done.
I don't disagree with you, honestly.
Listen, if this guy gets put in jail on a fucking felony, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if someone's going to impeach him. He's fucking got to get removed from any position he's in. That's just how it's got to work. No, it ain't up to this DOJ to deal with it. He's just going to get fucked in the ass as soon as anybody of relevance catches wind of it. And that's my point.
So here's my thing, right? And, I do have a long history with a lot of individuals here. I've been here for a very long time. Mr. Soze, Crane being one of them. Now, in terms of having this discussion, I think there's more of a complacency versus, which by all means is not any better than actually knowingly do so. Complacency can still be charged because you are complicit at that point as well. If you know something, you should do something. If you're not doing something, well, then guess what? You probably should.
Complacency. That would make sense if it didn't say at the bottom of the Constitution he was the motherfucker that wrote it.
Well, that's fine. You can write it, but there's also value in revisiting it, my friends. There's times when you pass things that don't always work every single time. There's value in revisiting systems that you have.
That's correct, but we don't revisit the Constitution. We revisit the legislation passed through the power of the Constitution. The Constitution is above the legislation, so no matter what, the Constitution is the law it needs to abide by, and it does not change.
Frankly, the Constitution, in my opinion, is written like shit.
Yes, it is.
Look at Article number 1 there, my friend. The first article there, and I'm not looking at this is by memory at this point. It empowers the council to do everything in terms of legislation passing it. Myself, as a judge within the system here, I have to have something come forth in front of me before I have any changes with it. Those with a legal mind and in sorts want to ensure the actual fairness of the city and how things are enforced, while others, such as what we have going on now within the council, do not. So, for myself, that has a best interest, and I'll say, at most part, most of the judges should at this point, but they don't. We are reactive, whereas the council is proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to wait on them, and they may not have the best interest because guess what? It's elected by the people, and they can be corrupt as shit.
Well, that's what you think. But Crane is at the seat, and he's voting on this shit. So he's tied in with every decision that's made. If he's voting on it and he's accepting it, he's doing that of his own free will. And he, too, is the lead in the DOJ. No.
That is correct.
So there you go. It's all tied together. One person's running the place. Whatever he says goes. And when he uses the excuse, the spirit of the law, then anything's within his, mindset. Whatever he wants is the law. That's how the spirit can be perceived by anybody.
Well, spirit and letter are two separate things with this. Usually I'm more of the letter of the law person. I like it outlined. I don't like a whole bunch of loopholes, and because, frankly, shit like this happens quite often. Been around enough that you see it.
These guys in my court said I can't argue semantics, and the semantics is the disagreement on a body of text or a word itself having a different meaning. That is literally what the penal code is. How the fuck am I meant to argue something if I can't argue the semantics of the law?
Well, you're supposed to, and that's why I stopped the trial the other day, my friend, or at least stepped out of it from my side and should have been mistrial, which it was. Because semantics, to me, is part of what it is. I actually just had a conversation with an officer the other day. He said, "Oh, it's just semantics." I said, "Don't say that, son, because that's my job."
Exactly. That is literally what the semantics of this world entail. Hey, listen, I mean, we're just going to sit here and preach another year to an extent. And sure, we might disagree on a few things, but I got a feeling, these assholes that shut up the council, once they see what happens in these court cases, and they've seen what happens, by the way, they're only going to get worse. It ain't going to be one group you guys are going to have to worry about. It's going to be the mass of people in which have been violated and abused by a group of people that don't follow their own rules. It is going to be chaos.
In what way, my friend?
Well, if I get to the point where I want to tear my hair out, grab a sledgehammer, and cave somebody's head in, I can only imagine what the people are like without restraint. Just my opinion of things anyway.
Well, son, we live in a society where reform isn't exactly something that happens very often.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lack of certain penalties that exist, and those things, deterrence or social deterrence, or that little angel devil on someone's shoulder typically doesn't exist on the angel side.
Hey, out of curiosity, is there any requirements for you to accept a case and make the case happen?
Excuse me?
There are requirements. Technically, it has to have reasonable, probable cause there. Has to have the charges. Has to have all things properly documented.
And you can set a precedent without any limitations. You're allowed to just do it, right?
What do you mean by that? Could you use an example?
Well, if I was gonna, put a quick case in to question the jurisdiction of a certain area of land, no specifics, of course, and I was to win said case based on the logic in which it's implied how jurisdictions and the law works in here, what would be stopping a judge from saying that is the law now?
Well, frankly, there is a conversation where, and this is what I asked another individual, Mr. Slacks, the other day, who has apparently met the state of who actually is them and to determine what it is or is not, because clarity is needed at times. And once again, the Constitution is not something that has been thoroughly vetted. So if you're asking about something in regards to a body of law, which the state then grants upon the area what it is, frankly, by the Constitution, I don't have authority with that because that's a state matter.
You believe it's a state matter to So how about this? I'm going to give you a hypothetical in a way to imply my logic. While I agree that the state needs to authorize it, my understanding that if legislation is passed from this council, the state auto-sign it as the authority is passed down. So think about this, right? We got Mr. Government. He owns the government buildings, okay, the apartments, right? Me and you are in there. My name's Los Santos. Your name's Blaine County. Yeah, we own 2 apartments next to each other. We become real good friends. Me and you, real good friends, because we're good people. We get to the point where I'm walking in and out of your house, doing whatever, fucking taking dumps in your toilet, fucking watching football with you, drinking beer, shooting the shit, just doing what we want to do whenever we want. We're on that understanding, okay? But you got to remember, this is government housing. The government owns that housing, but we're technically paying our fee or whatever, our contract to live in there. But the building one day says, "Hey, I can't afford to have you guys here. We got to kick you out, and we got to rebuild this place so we can make some money out of it. It's just not working. It's not feasible." So everybody gets kicked out, and then they send you a letter, Mr. Los Santos, and they say, "Hey, buddy, you can have your place back, and you move on back in there." And you think to yourself, "Shit, I might go take a shit in Blaine County right fucking now." You think you got permission to do that, considering Blaine County was my old place and I no longer live there?
Well, son, to begin with, no, it doesn't, because Blaine County, whoever the hell that person is, or if I'm Blaine County and they're no longer there, you might have had that privilege before when I was there and might have been commonly accepted. Now, just because someone else might be there doesn't mean that you have the same privilege now.
Mm-hmm. So what about this? Okay, that house is no longer there. So you talk to the manager, the guy that runs the place. He's got the authority from the government, right? He's the localized entity that runs this building. And you go up to him and say, "Hey, listen, my toilet's blocked. While it's getting fixed, can I take a shit in the place next door? That's Blaine County." And he says, "Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll just note it here so it's good in case, the security calls up or anything and we have any issues." What about now? You think you're okay to go in there and take a shit and just leave?
Technically, no, but there should be some sort of tenants laws that protect them against that.
Mm-hmm. So if there is a man, okay, who is inside this place and gives you authorization, because he's the guy that also gave you authorization to go back into your building, you don't think there's going to be an authorization for you to go in there and take a shit?
Oh, I don't.
Why do you believe that?
Why? Because once again, there should be tenants' rights. And if that's the case,
there's no tenant in there. I said that he hasn't come back, so it's technically of the government property at that point. This was me moving out. I mean, you moved back, not me. The place next door is vacant.
Still doing it. You're insane.
All right, so you move back. I'm not there, and the individual, the guy who owns, I'm not there.
Hold on a second.
Just you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Listen, I'm Los Santos. I moved back in. The building next to me is vacant, which means the manager's in control of it in the government, right? It falls back into their hands. That it's empty. And I go and ask him and say, "Hey, my toilet's blocked. Can I take a shit in the next door?" He gives me the keys and says yes. Do I have a right?
What's wrong there?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying.
I mean, technically, he owns. Correct. He owns the actual building. There's nobody there. There's no one that's enacting a right.
He doesn't own it. He has the authority from the government to enact what he perceives is
sure.
law.
Yes.
His own legislation. So I ask you, okay, when the state passes down a constitution and enacts a local municipal government authority to make law on the land of the state or around the state, what's preventing them making legislation to say they now can go up to Blaine County and have jurisdiction in there? They're not claiming the land off them. They're just going to imply that they would have jurisdiction and be okayed up there, since the legislation would be okayed by the state.
If you're asking me in regards to BCSO having jurisdiction of being in a separate area because they think that it's the same thing, so frankly, I'm going to have to disagree with you there, because To my understanding, when the LSPD met with the state
Mm-hmm.
gave jurisdiction to the entirety of the island to the LSPD. Now, there's nothing that establishes BCSO, and this is where you and I probably do agree at this point, and individuals might not agree with me and think that this
So
is a really bad take.
before you move on with that, I'm just curious.
Go
Do you
ahead.
think that's agreed? Because PCP legislation implies Los Santos and Los Santos only. Nothing about an island. I don't know what states you think they talk to or
Because
who's told you that, but the legislation
that would have been
itself.
Slacks.
Oh well,
He
Slacks
said
is
he
fucking
met.
stupid. So.
I'm just saying, he says he's met with the state and that's how it was granted. I don't see anything in documentation or writing with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going off of a conversation. That is
Yep.
hearsay.
That's true. I mean, either way, listen, if it's written in legislation that it says law enforcement departments acting within the boundaries of Los Santos into the blanket and checks and balances, I mean, it's already written there that they're meant to do that anyway in their own legislation. So no matter what Slacks has said, and even if it is a truth, it looks like the legislation was passed and the state would have still said, okay, that's it. That's the law. You got the authority to do it. So that's what's okayed.
Was that a question there?
Well, no, I'm telling you, that's the way I see it. If the legislation is signed and passed through, then the legislation is the law now, is it not?
For that particular area that they have
The
jurisdiction
yeah.
over.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. It says both actually, it says all law enforcement from here and into the future would be in Los Santos, and that would be implied the jurisdiction. So I got a feeling somebody might have just thought Los Santos was an island, and there was definitely some sort of failure at some point because of that. Either way,
You have just a feeling. A small one there. An inkling.
yeah, well, I mean, how else do you make sense of any of this garbage?
Well, son, there isn't much sense to be made, technically, with a lot of things. I'll put it as that. When you have murderers, terrorists, individuals that are
Treasonous.
innocent crime, correct, that are roaming free and running for government and just like my asshole nephew there, they all
Who's
just
your nephew?
roam back on the street. Well, was Mr. Walker.
He was, wasn't he a cop as well?
Yes, we have a very complicated history with our families. We don't speak much.
Yeah, sounds like two good people, two good old police got the chop already by this goddamn government. When are the criminals going to start getting diced up?
Sir, is that an actual question right now?
No, it's rhetorical.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, well, listen. I hope you take care of yourself either way, and if the shit does hit the fan, you know, you're a good guy. You're a good guy.
You tell me to
And
buy
I
a
want you to
damn
know
flight
that.
out of here?
No,
That was just saying right now.
no, I ain't saying that. I'm just saying you're a good guy. In case we don't speak too much again in the future. That's all.
You're
Who
buying
knows what
something.
could happen? Well, I do have a treason charge in a couple of days. I don't know if you read the docket, but some people, you shouldn't read the docket. It might be unhealthy for you. Hey,
Yeah.
I think I gotta go. I'll call you back.